WellDefined Media presents, in conjunction with AMPTV, a celebration of the third annual 2022 National Black Estheticians Week, hosted by Spa Show. Join us day 2, February 23rd, 2022, as we feature a discussion with panelist Julie Keller Callahan, co-founder of WellDefined, Dr. Renzel Dillian, Director of Research and Development of PCA Skin and EltaMD Skincare, Minna Georgewell, Global Innovation Manager at EltaMD Skincare, Katie Anderson, Editor-in-Chief of Skin Incorporated, Katina Gilmore, the Skin Health Coach, the BEST Association founder, Jacqueline Hill, Director of Business Development, School Division, Image Skincare, Dawn Ahern, licensed esthetician, Advanced Plus educator at PCA Skin. So celebrate and learn with us during the National Black Estheticians Week. And now, here's a brief about NBEW founder Tiffany Medwa.
Tiffany Medwa is a licensed esthetician and the founder of Spa Show, which is a directory where clients can find licensed Black estheticians in their area. She is also a senior-level copywriter with more than 10 years of writing, editing experience, producing compelling copy for high-profile brands and companies such as Mattel, Hot Topic, and ABC. When working for ABC's The View, Tiffany was asked by the show's makeup artist, Eve Pearl, to write a piece about lipstick for her book, Plastic Surgery Without the Surgery, The Miracle of Makeup Techniques. Tiffany was even featured in the book, and if you squint hard enough, you can see 2 tiny photos of her on its cover. Tiffany is passionate about skincare and the aesthetics community at spashow.com.
So, welcome to day 2 of 2022 NBEW conference. And as we are celebrating National Black Estheticians Week, I like the way in Tiffany's bio, 2 little small photos. Told her she's modest, but we're going to bring her in just a moment so we can talk about day 1. And now we're into day 2 and all these presenters and fabulous speakers. I just want to let you know, some people are kind of terrified. They were watching the programming and kind of were DMing me last night saying, hey, I need to check the moles on my body. So I think that's a good thing, though. I don't think that's like a scary thing. I think that's what I was asking Pamela Springer yesterday about, how do we keep from being so scared? I don't think I'm scared. I think that we're more knowledgeable. And I think that day 2 is going to be another knowledgeable act. And then we've got day 3 and day 4. OMG, you don't want to miss it. If you do, we've got the hookup for you. You can always go to spashow.com. And that's where you can watch it on Spa Show Wellness TV. But I want to bring Tiffany in to kind of chime in as we're going to, and she's also going to be introducing our first speaker of day 2. You don't want to miss this good information. I'll let you in a little secret. Got my husband even watching the programming. Now he's watched it twice. He's trying to check the moles. Thought it was interesting. Yeah, true story. That's really happening right now. So, Tiffany, good morning to you. Day 2, just talking about the great things, how this is helping many people. The day 1 and day 2. I know it's the focus is on estheticians, but I'm just saying the information is so incredible. Everyone gets that
information, especially
yes.
melanoma yesterday, because it just makes me think about how much more mindful I need to be myself, because I know I'm a I love the sun, and especially living in LA. I would literally go to the beach every day,
Really?
And I really wasn't at that time into really wearing sunscreen. So it just makes you, more mindful, more aware of, at least, wanting to think about, okay, what are some ways I can be more proactive and just a little bit more research around that topic, because you definitely don't think, it's just kind of seared into your minds, from a young age that we really don't get skin cancer. But of course, being more educated, and especially with yesterday's information, we see that it can be very true for our community. So just being more educated about it, I think, is helpful for all of us. And like you said, not to bring a fear factor, but just arming ourselves information.
And speaking of information, we also remind people that it is Black History Month, right? And so that's another reason why we're celebrating this week, but it's a celebration for everybody, right? I just wanted you to talk a little bit about that, just a little bit.
Yeah, so this is Black History Month. And, when I first was speaking to Katina about having a day or a week for Black estheticians, I thought Black History Month would be fitting because, Black History Month usually starts off really, really strong. And then, at least in my eyes, it kind of starts to dwindle a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I thought, well, towards the last week, why don't we kind of claim that week? We're still in that spirit of honoring our pioneers and
Sure.
trailblazers. And so especially in this aesthetics field, because it's a living, breathing thing, as we learn more about it, the information grows and changes, especially as Pamela Springer touched on, skin of color has very diverse needs. And I just wanted to touch on, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. NBEW is not about being exclusive. It's not about for us and for no one else. No, this is for everyone. The point of it is we're celebrating skin of color because oftentimes in the aesthetics industry, you don't see that. It's starting to change now. And I'm kind of referencing, this year has been very good thus far. I haven't seen anything too negative online. I did receive, a message yesterday on my Instagram that, kind of was a little jarring about, we everyone, all of us, and we do that, and that's what we're doing with this event. We're just kind of spotlighting and highlighting Black estheticians during Black History Month. It's no way to exclude anyone else at all. It is to highlight and celebrate skin of color, and what our diverse needs are, what our skin requires. And as the doctor was talking about melanoma, that's something he's creating this groundbreaking research. So research has never even existed about, like, there's no body of literature about melanoma in our community. So
that was crazy when we talked about that. I was so shocked.
No,
other people were shocked. I was shocked.
Yes. So why shouldn't we be able to stake a claim and say, hey, we want to focus on ourselves. If no one else is going to focus on us, we have to do it,
Right.
So I hope I don't sound too crazy.
No. I just wanted you to reiterate that because that was my understanding. And then when Pamela was like, you can't use the same products on your face, like when she talked about the collagen products, that doesn't go for everybody's like texture and skin texture. And so those were the eye-opening things. It's okay to be different in the skin we're in, but it's also important for us to, with the skin that we're in, it's important for us to know what to do and what products we should use.
Exactly. So
I just wanted to bring that up.
Record, National Black Estheticians Week is for everyone.
Okay.
We're just highlighting color. So that's
and by the way, is it okay? Miss Katina didn't enter the building, the virtual studio. Can we get a shout out from her or get her to say something about day one? And I know she's gonna be speaking. I'm not trying to make her nervous, but there she is, lovely as can be. And I love the earrings. Check it out, Lashay. Anything you want to recap?
Everyone.
Hello.
Hi. Yes. Yesterday was phenomenal. I mean, we have 4 speakers. And I got something from each and every, one of them. Just honored to be on this platform. They all dropped some gems. So everyone who's coming on today, make sure you stay tuned for today's speakers, including myself later on for today.
I can't wait.
Make sure you stay tuned and follow Spa Show TV in this event, this NBEW virtual event. We have some very talented, very knowledgeable. I mean, we had a doctor, a medical doctor. I think tomorrow we have a PhD. So this is a very well curated panel. So again, everyone, just keep listening. I'm sure you'll find something valuable from every last speaker.
Katina, was there anything that stood out to you, though, from yesterday? Anything that, I know you know a lot already, but was there anything that stood out?
I know a lot. Well, when the doctor brought up, just this whole, I told someone, I think this is going to be a paradigm shift in the way that companies formulate products, especially sunscreen, and the way we educate, the way schools educate the estheticians on sunscreen and UV exposure. Because as he was saying that a lot of these issues that we have, sunscreen is not necessarily going to be preventative for that particular, issue. So let's kind of look deeper into this, data about UV exposure and wearing sunscreen, and whether or not it's needed, especially in the realm of melanomas, right? Not necessarily for. I think we probably all could benefit from wearing sunscreen, but in the way it's been taught over the years, we need to think about that differently. And then, of course, I was very inspired again by Lisa from SkinScript. She was inspired by her story and how she got started. So that was very inspirational. And then Pamela Springer as well. She dropped some gems. And then, of course, Tereska James, her whole, her being so brave. She's so brave to have founded the organization in honor of her sister, and to have, kept that going over the last, I think it's now going on 7 years that she has founded the Brown Skin 2 Foundation, about 6 years. But she's just so brave for coming on and, continuing to share her sister's story. So, but yeah, I was just so amazed by all the speakers yesterday.
Awesome. Thank you, Katina, for that wrap up. Now, Tiffany, we're going to bring it back to you so you can introduce another phenomenal. We got these phenomenal speakers. I read all their bios. I'm like, what's happening here? I feel bad for people at the work right now, but I'm so jazzed. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. More great speakers.
I'm super excited to hear Julie speak. I've met her recently a couple months ago, but we had such a great phone conversation, and she's so energetic and so positive, and I'm just really excited to hear what she has to say. So I think we can all pick up some good gems, especially, Julia, as we're in the media, business, and, I'm still learning my media. So I'm super excited to hear what she has to say. So
awesome.
I'll go ahead and introduce Julie.
Okay.
Julie Keller Callahan is the co-founder of WellDefined, a comprehensive wellness resource for industry professionals and consumers. She is also an executive recruiter and marketing specialist for Hutchison Consulting, as well as a consultant and strategist for numerous wellness brands. Additionally, she is a seasoned journalist who specializes in spa, travel, health, wellness, beauty, and sustainability. Previously, Julie led the American Spa team for 15 years as the editor-in-chief and publisher. Under her leadership, the brand evolved to include a print publication, a website, an active social media community, multiple awards programs, and numerous events. She is a founder of the American Spa Women in Wellness Leadership Conferences and the American Spa CBD Summit. She was named a 2019 Folio Top Woman in Media in the Industry Trailblazers category, and she and her team won an ISPA Innovate Award in 2018 for their work with women in leadership. I am very, very happy and honored to welcome Julie Keller Callahan.
Hi, everyone.
Hi,
Thank
Julie.
you so much for having me.
Hello, Julie.
Yes,
Julie.
of course. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so honored to be part of this. This is really a spectacular lineup you've set up here. So this is really wonderful. I'm excited.
Thank you. We are very excited to have you.
Oh, great. Thank you. I have a slide presentation for you guys, but I'll tell you a little bit about WellDefined and myself before we get started. So WellDefined, I started this company. It's a media and events company. We started about a year ago. I launched it with my former executive editor from American Spa. We both have been in the spa industry for about 20 years. So it's something that is near and dear to our hearts, something that we love. WellDefined, we have a website and newsletter. We have about 50,000 subscribers, and we really cover all things wellness related. So from beauty to generational wellness to financial wellness, you name it. If it's in the wellness space, we're covering it. We also actually next Tuesday are having our first event. It's a Women in Leadership Summit happening in Tustin, California. So we're continuing our support of women leaders and women founders and women in the wellness space. So those are some of the things that we're working on. And, I've been a journalist in the spa world, like I said, for about 20 years. And I know a lot of you guys are, some of you are single shop estheticians, some of you work for a bigger spa and organization, but no matter what, you being your own promoter is really important and really helpful in growing your business and growing your reputation. So I'm hoping to share a few things that will help support you as you work with journalists, as you spread the word about your work, those things. So if we go to the next slide. So, there's a couple of things that to kind of keep in mind as you start making relationships with editors and journalists and influencers that, again, will help your business. Editors get a lot of pitches. I think with the pandemic, and as with all of you, I'm sure everybody is doing more with less. And so, just to give you an average, a lot of journalists get pitched about a minimum of 20 times a day, some of up to about 500 times a week. So, in order to catch the eye of a journalist, it's really important to come up with something that will really stick with them. It's always wonderful to just kind of announce that you are there, announce that you're doing work, announce your expertise. But if you want to catch a journalist, there needs to be some sort of level of newsworthiness. So a few ideas, that give you some ideas, because sometimes you think, and I know this, I hear from people say, look, I've been open for 10 years. I don't really, have anything to say. I don't have a brand new spa. I don't do this, but there's a lot of things that you can do. So, of course, if you're a new location, if you have just joined the team of a spa, if you are doing something interesting, those debut and launch press releases and information, those are always pretty newsworthy. Also, if you're doing a renovation in your space, or if you've brought in a new service that's really cool and interesting, those are great tags for journalists. If you have cool partnerships, and one thing that I think can be really helpful for small businesses is to make partnerships with other small businesses. So perhaps, you have one treatment room spa where you do services, and you've partnered with a juice company in the area, and you'd have cross-promotional opportunities. That's newsworthy, so share that news. If you have a noteworthy team member, if someone on your team has won an award, if somebody has done something significant for the community, if somebody has created a cool and interesting treatment, or you yourself, that's newsworthy. Always charity and social responsibility tie-ins are great, along with being just good for the universe. It's good for business. People more and more want to be affiliated and put their business with those who are doing good. So if you are able to do that, and you are doing that with your business, share that. Holiday offerings are always interesting, but get creative. There's all sorts of offbeat holidays that happen all throughout the year, and it's a fun way to come up with creative promotions, and it's a great way to catch the eye of some journalists. Some of you, I don't know if some of you may work with spa software, some of you may not, but the spa software these days, no matter which company you're working for, is pretty innovative, and it can pull some really great stats, and editors love numbers. So if you pull your stats from the year and say, I have X% of this kind of client, so I'm 80% female, 20% male clients. Our average ticket price is this. Our most popular service is this. Journalists love stats, so if you can pull that from your software or just from your own research, that's always really helpful, and it establishes you as an expert and someone that the journalist will go back to again. And again, piggyback it with something relevant in the news. So that's always something that's interesting, though. So I know that DMK is a skincare line, and they did a facial during Game of Thrones, and they called it the Game of Thrones facial, and it caught a ton of media all across the country. So if there's an interesting TV show, an interesting piece of event, those are always kind of things that you can work around and create clever packages and promotions to catch the eye of journalists. So that's just an example, just to let you know that you are newsworthy. If the first thing that comes to your mind is, I don't really know what I should talk to journalists about, there's always something to talk to them about. So you just need to get creative about coming up with pitches that promote yourself. So if we could go to the next slide. So some of you may already know these things. Some of you may even have a PR firm you work with, but I bet a lot of you are probably your own publicist and your own marketing support. And so there's something that, to make things easier, I just wanted to give you a look of just kind of the best practices in a press release. Aperture is a lip care line that I actually do some marketing and consulting work for, and so we created this press release. So, something that you should always include in the press release, and again, I'll say this a lot of times, make things easy and fast and quick for journalists to get to. You have a much better chance of working with them. So what you want to include in a press release is always contact information, an email address, and a phone number. If there's a journalist working on a tight deadline, they might just give you a call or a text. So always have your email and phone number. I can't emphasize enough that journalists are always looking for images to go with articles they're writing about. Gone are the days where everybody has big photo budgets. Everybody's using stock photo and everybody is looking for photos to be provided. So if you can either create a Google Drive or some place where all of your information is there and easy to get to, and provide that link with your press release. So this, for example, we had high resolution images, logo, and anything you need to get are available by a clickable link. When it comes to your headline, make it informative and make it succinct. It's good to have a headline and a subhead. This is a lip care line that launched. It's a really cool vegan lip care line out of Colorado. So we got to the point of it. It's a vitamin-based, sustainable lip care line, innovative path and clean beauty. And then there's a subhead that kind of ties it again. New professional line features plastic-free packaging, natural plant-based ingredients, and powerful protocols. So all of that gets in there and right up there up front. And you always want to make sure your first sentence or paragraph gets right to the point. Press releases are not really the place where you want to get super creative with a long and kind of dramatic introduction. It's fun to have creative writing, and there's a lot of places you can do it. Doing it in your press release is not the best place. It's also a really good idea to make sure that you have a quote somewhere in your press release, because a lot of times, again, as I mentioned, journalists are busy. They're doing a lot. If you make this easy for them and provide a quote that they can use in their articles, that is really, really helpful. And then what you always want to do, and this is I just pulled this other side from another press release I see, at the bottom of your press release, you always have a boilerplate. So if it's about you with a paragraph that's succinct about you. If it's about your spa, paragraph about your spa, and make sure all of the links that you need that they could use are there. So your website, your social media accounts, anything that can be provided and be used as a link in an article. So those are all kind of best practices for a press release. This is another thing that you should consider if you haven't already. As an esthetician, you are already a content expert in your field. And so if you want to get some coverage, there's a great opportunity for a lot of places to volunteer yourself as a contributor. I think we have something like 200 contributors who have written for WellDefined, and it's all people who are brilliant in their field and also are promoting something that they want to promote. So, for example, we had this doctor. He is an MD, PhD, who works for Sensei in Hawaii, and so he did a story for us about improving sleep habits. And in the story, most journalists will not allow you to write a full self-promotional story, but he had a great story all about improving your sleep habits. Within the story, there was a paragraph about the Optimal Wellbeing program that works to improve sleep, and then at the end of the story, we had his bio with links to his company. So consider setting yourself up as a contributor. Reach out to the trade magazines in the skincare industry. Reach out to websites that are relevant to what you're doing. So, editors, again, we're all busy. We're all looking for great content, especially online. Things move so quickly. So this is an opportunity to think about offering yourself up as a contributor. So there's a couple things, that's just kind of some tips to help editors kind of remember and love you. So it's a good idea to build relationships when you can. Follow publications that you like on social media. Follow specific editors or writers that you like. If you're at trade shows and industry events, introduce yourself. This is a great opportunity to get to know people. I mean, some of my best sources I have are people that I've met over the years at different events, and I think, oh, I have this story. I know that she'll get back to me. I know she knows about this. So just develop relationships, before you even need them. Get to know the beat for many of your journalists. These days, a lot of people are writing for a lot of different publications. So, if you have a great relationship with a journalist, you might find that they freelance for 4 or 5 publications that might be relevant. Sign up for the newsletters and digital publications for anything that's relevant to you. It gives you an idea of what they're doing. It gives you some inspiration for your business, and it gives you a place to have ideas for pitching articles. I will say Facebook and Facebook groups are great. There's a lot of great groups on Facebook. There's one in particular called Wellness Writers, Editors, and Experts that I'm a part of. I didn't make the group. I'm just in the group. But it's great. I mean, the editors are in there all the time. They'll just post to say, hey, I need an expert on XYZ skin condition. I need this. And it's if you keep an eye on that, it's an opportunity for you to get coverage. So there's a lot of groups like that are good to keep an eye on. Always keep an eye on for best of awards, editors picks, those kind of things. That's another great opportunity to get some coverage. It depends on your comfort with this and your ability to do it. But, sampling, if you have a product line, provide samples to journalists. If you're open to it, provide a complimentary treatment for an article, those kind of things. Check with journalists and see who's doing reviews. If you feel comfortable with your business getting reviewed, this is a great opportunity to get some journalists to come in and check out what you're doing. Whenever you get a mention, share it on your social media, tag the journalist or the publication. That's always a good idea. It's they get some coverage, you get some coverage. It's a nice way to kind of stay engaged. And, it's always, don't feel like you have to jump in and be in the New York Times. There's so many ways to get coverage. There's so many publications. There's so many cool online opportunities for coverage. So, start small and work your way up. It gives you some practice, and you kind of work your way up to a bigger coverage. Like I said, not everybody can afford or does have their own PR firm, so you have to be this for yourself. And one thing I will say, it's always better to try and find a person versus a generic address. If there's a specific trade publication or a specific consumer publication that you really love, try to find the editor-in-chief's name or the beauty editor's name and pitch directly to that person. You'll have a much better chance of getting in there rather than sending it to a generic address, because sometimes that stuff gets lost in translation. So those are a few more tips for working with editors. If I could have the next slide, please. So there's another couple things that, kind of give that I could give you some tips. These are some best and worst experiences that I've had as a journalist. Definitely follow up. Things get lost. Things get into spam. Editors get busy. There's times where I've gotten something and then they'll follow up with me. I'm like, oh, I totally forgot about that, but that was interesting to me. So don't feel bad about following up, but give it a little time, because very rarely, I know that this is such an immediate world where everybody wants a response immediately, but give it at least a day, at least a couple days, but don't be afraid to follow up. Do be cautious about going over an editor's head. We had an advertiser at American Spa. If she felt like she wasn't interviewed for every story she should have been interviewed for, she used to call the CEO of my company. That never got her more coverage, and my CEO always had my back on that. But doing that will never really endear you to somebody. So you can always pitch to a few editors on staff, make sure you follow up, but trying to as with, I'm sure it never works trying to go over somebody's head and get them in trouble. So that's one thing that I can say is not helpful. Deadlines. You would be shocked at how many people miss deadlines. If I have a story going out, maybe I'll send out questions to 10 different people. 9 times out of 10, most of them miss the deadline. So you will stand out by hitting deadlines. I know it's just the nature of people putting things to the last minute, but if you can stand out and make sure that you are hitting deadlines, you will definitely make editors love you. The other thing is, if you get interview requests, even if you can't do it or you're not interested or you're out of town, always just replying back and say, hey, I'm so sorry, I can't make it, or I can't do this, reach out to me next time. It's always great to just answer, even if the answer is no, if you can do that. One thing that I say is really important is have the contact information for media readily available. I can't tell you the number of times where I'm doing a story on a spa and I go to the spa website and I can't find a person to connect with, either call or send an email. There's sometimes an info box, and sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. But having really easily accessible media information is very helpful. Same thing is, if you can do it, get a media kit together and have that readily available for editors. You can ask editors for editorial calendars. Some people have them, some people don't, but it's always a good idea to just take a look at what's going to be on their editorial calendar for the year and pitch accordingly. And also just kind of keep in mind lead time. When I was at a print publication, we worked 2 and 3 months out. So we started working on Christmas in September. So we started working on holiday early. Digital, there's a little bit, things move a little bit faster. So, just kind of keep in mind what you're pitching. If you're pitching print, give it a couple months of lead time, because that's just how that works. If you're pitching digital or you're pitching social media, there's a little bit more timeliness to that. So those are just a few things to kind of think about, again, to make editors love and remember you. If I could have the next slide, please. So there's a couple things too when it comes to content. These are just some tips to give you to be thinking about. And I bet a lot of you are probably shooting your own content, shooting your own photos, using your phone to video things in the treatment room. All of that is great. The phones today are as good as professional cameras, and so I encourage you to do so. Couple things to keep in mind: shoot horizontal and vertical. It depends on the company, and it depends on if people are doing things on social. It depends on if people are doing things for their website. But make sure you shoot both ways. So if you're shooting a treatment room or you're shooting staff members, try and have both available, because that will make it easier. Just to give you an idea of some things to shoot, it really depends on what you have in your business and what you have available in your spa. But there's a lot of times where I'll write a story and I'll say, hey, can you send me some spa shots? And I just get kind of a generic treatment room, which could be anywhere in any spa, any place. So try and get creative. Definitely have a picture of your treatment rooms. You need to do that. But think about other places that you can have on hand for journalists. So if you have a unique area, if you have a salt room, if you have a relaxation area with some cool extras in there with light therapy, something, try and think of unique areas of your space. If you're doing services with interesting ingredients, try and shoot the ingredients maybe on your table. Again, think of areas, depending on if you're a single shop, you may not have all these areas. If you work for a spa, you might. But, other areas, relaxation areas, retail areas, people love to see retail areas. And so if your retail area is really beautifully done, have photos of that. Locker rooms. If you're doing outdoor treatments and you have some outdoor alfresco treatment areas. And when it comes to people, a couple pieces of advice I can advise you is try to keep things as evergreen as possible. If you have a photo of somebody with a ton of makeup or dated nail color or different hair, and you're planning on using those photos for a while, they get dated quickly. So try really hard to keep things as neutral and as long lasting as possible, something that's going to look good now and something that's going to look good in 5 years if you need to. And shoot with people and shoot without people. It just depends on the editor and the publication you're working with. Some people want to see people getting treatment. Some people just want to see your treatment room or some of your, close-ups of your retail or things like that. So try and have a little bit of both. There's a couple things, because this can get expensive hiring a professional photographer to do these things, and you really don't need to a lot of the times. Like I said, if you're good taking photos yourself, do it. So, there's a couple things that I would suggest investing in is lights, and these can go anywhere these days. I have one on my computer right now, a ring light that's set on the top of my computer. Get a ring light that really relights things well so you don't get weird shadows on things that you're shooting. Consider working with a nearby university or art school. There's some photography students that might come in and want to do it as an internship or as credit or just to get these photos for their portfolio. So consider working with a nearby school. As I mentioned, kind of a ring light is great. If you're working with a lot of product companies, most of those vendors have great photography. So they have good photos of their products. Sometimes they have photos of treatments being performed and stock photo that you can use. A lot of them will offer it to you, but if they don't, you should ask them because they have it. And that's a great way to get professionally shot photos that you can use in your own spa. The other thing that I suggest is, sometimes you need to use stock photography. Sometimes you don't have time, you don't have the resources to take a photo of something. There's some great stock photography sites, and there's some that are free. So I use for WellDefined, I use Shutterstock, but that's a paid service. But there are some free sites. Pexels is a good one, and there's actually a free photography site called nappy.co that specializes in people of color, and there's some great photos in there. And I will say, in my 20 years of being a journalist and trying to use stock photography, photos of people of different colors and multicultural photos are not always there, and it's unfortunate and it's frustrating, and I don't think it's right. But so go out of your way to try and find some resources that have those for you, because I think it's really important. Representation is important, and particularly as a Black esthetician, you want to show your clients, and if your clients happen to be people of color, this is important to represent there. So nappy.co is a great resource for that, and Pexels actually does have some pretty decent multicultural stock photography. So the other thing that I would suggest doing is video. Video is kind of king right now in social media and even in journalism. We embed a lot of videos in our articles. I know a lot of other people do. So again, if you're a single shop, you're the star of the show. So do some videos of you, show people how to, do a facial massage at home, how to properly apply serum, how to properly do something, properly apply sun care. Do some short videos and keep those available for journalists, but also use them on your own social channels. So again, it's a great opportunity. We have a YouTube channel and we have WDTV, and over the pandemic, there was a lot of opportunity when places were not busy to kind of bank some content. So we have, a chef from Hilton Head Health did a healthy energy recipe. We did one spa did a massage at home tutorial. So try and keep in mind video and try and shoot video. And again, shoot it both ways. Shoot it horizontal and vertical if you can, because that's always helpful, and it just depends on where it's going to be shared. So that's a little bit of tips on photography and video. Can I have the next slide, please? The other thing that I will say, it's kind of, this keeps going back to my advice for keeping things easy for editors. The easier you make it, the faster they can get to it, and the easier they can use it. So Google Drive is great if you have another place where you store your imagery, but just make it really clear. This is a men's skincare line that I did some work with, and we have their media and image asset folder. We have a folder of the founders. In that folder is the name of the founders on each file. So again, make the folders organized and name the files what they are. So, don't put a big stack of 20 images that's named 0123.jpg. Say treatment room 1, name it what it is. So, this is, for example, here for Cool for Men, we have a founders folder. They have a charity they work with. So these are photos for the charity. They have an ingredients folder where we have photos of the ingredients. We have lifestyle photos of people, of men using these products. And then we have product folders. And inside the product folders, it actually breaks down each of the products and names them what they are. So I can't suggest enough, really, making it easy, making it organized, keeping, keep the file sizes relatively small, especially if you're working online. Most editors work pretty low res, so 5 megabytes or under. And JPEG and PNG are generally the best image files to use. And if you can, throw a Word document in there that has captions for each of those. Make it even easier for the journalists. And I'm not saying journalists don't want to do hard work. I'm just saying if you make it easy, it's a lot. They're much more wanting to work with you. So this is another place where you can be organized and make editors want to work with you and make it easy to work with you. So next slide, please. And, I know that some of you probably are influencers in your own right, and some of you might want to work with some influencers to promote your business. The world of influencers is a very big one, and it can be a very confusing one. And so, there's just a couple things to keep in mind if you are thinking about working with an influencer. One, the thing that you want to keep an eye on is their engagement rate and their audience demographics. There is a lot of garbage out there, and there's a lot of fake stuff out there. So, there was a study that in 2019, fake followers, and that's where people kind of pay to follow and pay services overseas to just kind of mass follow things. That costs a lot of money, and it creates really bad engagement. So you want to just make sure that you do a little research on the potential influencers you might want to work with. And if it's a good influencer, they can give you these numbers, so ask them about their engagement rate. Less than 1% is a pretty bad engagement rate. Pretty average is between 1 and 3.5, and 3.5 to 6 is high. Anybody over 6% engagement that's a high number, and that's impressive. If you are going to work with an influencer, I really suggest delving deep into their followers. If it's an Instagram influencer, follow that whole grid down and see what they're doing. You want to make sure that the message that they have, the visuals they have, the language they have, the other sponsors they work with are in alignment with what you do, because there's been a lot of people getting into a lot of trouble with working with influencers who have made gross comments on social media, or who just really don't align with the value system. So be really careful and make sure that you're making good choices with influencers. Influencers, it can be worth the money, because if you pay $250 for somebody to do an Instagram post and you get 5 clients out of it, that $250 paid off quickly. So depending on your budget, you can work with smaller influencers that have smaller price tags. You get up to, Kardashian level influencers, and those can be, hundreds of thousands of dollars a post, which is out of the realm of most people. But, there really are influencers at all levels and all places. And there are some influencers, and again, it's depending on what you feel comfortable with offering, that will work for incentives. So, they will come in for a free service, or they'll create a custom code so that they get a cut of sales that come through their promotions, free products, offering experience. So if you decide you want to work with an influencer, that's something, and you don't maybe have the budget, that's something that you can consider doing. Next slide, please. So again, when it comes to influencers, here's a couple other things that you might want to ask about. Again, depending on your budget, think about micro influencers, and these are influencers with, $500 to $50,000 followers. If these are influencers, so if you have a wellness influencer who has 1,000 followers, and they are a devoted follower who engage in all the posts, who purchase the things that this influencer suggests, who goes to the spa or goes and get a service from somebody that they recommend, 1,000 super engaged audience members is way more valuable than somebody who has 500,000 followers who really just don't engage in anything. So consider nano influencers who have an engaged audience. And definitely, ask your influencers, ask them for stats, ask them if they have a media kit, ask them if they can, give you some proof of what they provide. There are some software that can be a little bit expensive, but you can actually track influencer engagement if that's something that you want to do. But again, if it's a good influencer who is a good business person, they'll be able to provide you with this. Also, really clarify what you're getting. Sometimes if you're paying an Instagram influencer, they'll just put something in their stories, which is fine, but it goes away in a day. So, if you're paying an influencer, and say, okay, you're going to do 2 Instagram stories and you're going to post on the grid, ideally a combination of the two will get you, the most engagement. So definitely clarify what you're getting. Ask them if there's other channels for exposure. Maybe they are an Instagram influencer, but they have a blog or they have a newsletter. See if there's more opportunity beyond just their social media accounts. And I can't say this enough. If you want something out of the influencer marketing other than just announcing your brand, put a call to action in there. So say, follow us here. Here's a discount code. Here's a contest that we're hosting. Here is a custom code I've created for this influencer. So enter this at checkout. Make sure that you can do something that is as trackable as possible. Again, doing a partner code or affiliate link is a great way to do this, so then you can actually track what they're doing. And one thing that I always suggest is some of these influencers are great photographers and videographers. If I would make it part of your contract, if you can, ask for all of the assets. So if they're doing a photo on their grid, if they're doing a little mini video of them getting a treatment in your spa and they're putting it up on their stories, ask them for all of the native files of everything they created and that you can use them, because it's a great opportunity for you to add to your digital assets for your spa or for your business. So those are a few other tips for getting something out of your influencer investment. Next slide, please. And, again, these are just some metrics to be thinking about and to track if you do work with an influencer. Reach and impressions. So and honestly, almost all of the social channels can give you this stuff. Audience engagement, the brand mentions, and if an influencer mentions you, make sure you reshare that on all of your places as well. You want to get as much traffic and as much engagement as you can. Again, a call to action. Track any conversions that come from social. Again, you can get that from the influencers and you can track it yourself. Again, offer a sale, ask them to sign up for your newsletter, ask you to follow on social. You really should be able to get something out of working with an influencer. And depending on what you want for your business, that's how you kind of tailor your influencer program. And again, you can also track revenue that comes from social. So these are all trackable things. So it can be confusing working with influencers, but my suggestion is to make it as engaged and as trackable as you can to make sure that you are getting the most out of your influencer marketing. Next slide, please. Okay, so that was a lot of information that I just jammed into 40 minutes. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I encourage you, if you would like to sign up for our newsletter at WellDefined, you can follow us at WellDefined Media. If any of you are in Southern California and would like to come to our event next Tuesday, there are still a few tickets available. It's welldefined.com/women. And please reach out to me at any time. I'm happy to answer any questions. We also do some custom work at WellDefined. If we can do custom newsletters, we can do some brand advising, those kind of things. So we are here and able to be a resource for those in the spa and wellness industry. So thank you all for the time, and I'm here if anybody has any questions.
Julie, I have to start out first being the journalist and also as one that owns a media and marketing company. Can you reiterate one more time how important it is to just have marketing in general? We've seen a lot of, unfortunately, African-American businesses, I can only speak from that experience, who often do not put anything aside for marketing or anything. They just hope that someone will come into their place of business or hope that someone will recognize what they do for their business. Could you reiterate the importance of that?
Yeah, I think, word of mouth is always, the best business driver anybody can get, because if you are recommended by one of your clients and someone comes in, that's already an engaged client. But that happens less and less. And if you really want to grow and you really want to scale your business, there is huge value in marketing. And whether you become your own marketing expert or you work with a marketing firm, it really is helpful. And there is a lot of value. It can be expensive, but there's a lot of value with working with a PR firm that already has media contacts, that already has a system in place, that has a team that can promote you. And there's a lot of competition out there, and I can't emphasize enough that it's really important. And working with somebody who can help you market is great, and it really is worth the investment. If you find the right person, that investment will pay off in the long run.
Tiffany, I know this is right up your alley, so I was hoping you could also chime in, if you would.
That was wonderful, Julie. That I was taking notes actually. And so I kind of asked you before a little bit on the phone, but could you give a little bit more detail about how you, as a media company, how do you find your contributors? Do they come to you, or did you put out like a call of action? How do you exactly find them?
Both. So again, this is where the value of working with a PR firm comes in handy. Heather and I have been in it for about 20 years. So we probably, when we started our company, we had, a database of some 300 publicists that we'd worked with before. So we put out a call to action. We announced, say, hey, here's the topics that we're going to cover. Here is some things that we're looking for. But we get a lot of pitches from PR firms who have great clients that they represent. And so, they know what we cover in wellness. So, I'll get a pitch, from somebody who is an expert on one aspect or another. So it's a combination of the two. We reach out to people that we know, we reach out to the PR firms we know, and we get a lot of PR pitches. And we're also, finally, we're all starting to travel a little bit again. So, being out on the road really allows us to meet people and find people who could be great contributors as well. So it's kind of a combo of all of those things.
Knock on wood, Julie, on that we're able to travel again. I'm just saying, knock on wood.
I know, I'm not.
Knock on the door, any type of wood around you. For those of you who just chimed in, some of you are watching, you've been communicating with me via text. Thank you for letting us know. I guess there were issues where you couldn't see the stream and you were bummed out that you missed part of it. Don't worry. We are recording on this end. We're going to be able to upload it. You're going to be able to watch it. And just letting you know, though, if you do have questions on the presentation that you were able to hear, you can ask that to Julie live right now. We can send you a text, and it's just a mobile link. And you see that number scrolling at the bottom of your screen, 559-242-6788. Again, that number is 559-242-6788. And some of you already know how to use it. So just take the next step and either text us the question, or if you want to be on live, just let us know. I'm going to bring us back to Tiffany and Katina. I'm sure they have more questions because this is a hot topic when we're talking about marketing and media for one's company.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention
I've just been taking notes. I was just saying, I have my notepad, and so I've been taking notes.
You guys are good students, huh? Great students. Go ahead, Tiffany.
I really wanted to make it to your event, but we have someone in California who is representing the media company and spa show who will be attending. So
I saw her on the list. So that's great.
I'm good.
So good. It's going to be a great day. We're excited. We have 5 really incredible speakers. It's a great day of networking, and I just think women supporting women is it's so important for all of us. And I love having a day that celebrates that. And not to leave anyone out, but I think women, particularly after the pandemic, have had a special range of challenges that, and being there for each other and being able to help us as we all kind of work through our businesses during this time is important. So I'm excited.
A question that was asked had to do with what about social media? Someone said, I'm not sure. I guess expanding on that, the question was about social media. It just says, what about social media? So it must have been reference to something you were talking about, Julie.
Yeah, I think, social media, I was talking a little bit more about working with journalists, but I think when it comes to your overall marketing plan, having a dedicated social media plan is really important. And there's a lot of great ways that you can manage your social media without it being completely overwhelming. One, if you can afford it and have the budget for it, there's some great companies out here that can manage it for you, which is really helpful, and that gives you time to be working on your business. But you can also, there's a lot of great options, something like Hootsuite or things like that, where you can actually schedule your social media in advance. So that's always really helpful too. So if you plan to post 3 times on Instagram grid in a week, and you want to have a story every day, and then you want to post on LinkedIn, and you want to post on Facebook, you can actually do that from a central location. And so, spend a couple hours one day to kind of schedule your week out. I think it's also really important to build a social media calendar for yourself, or again, if you're working with a marketing firm, they can help, or PR firm, they can help you do that. But, really build a social media calendar out. So say, we're coming up on Mother's Day. What are we doing for Mother's Day? 3 weeks before Mother's Day, we're going to offer this. 2 weeks before, we're going to do this. 3 days before Mother's Day, we're really going to push our gift certificates because we really want to offer people an online quick solution. So I can't emphasize enough, building a social media calendar is also really helpful. And it should be an important part of your marketing program.
So interesting that you said social media calendar and making sure that people are able to input it early instead of having to do one by one. And I don't even think a lot of people may not know those type of services. And even Facebook has that. Can you talk a little bit about that? Could you expand on that?
Yeah, I think it's so hard, and I know it's so overwhelming. I mean, especially for those of you who are running your own businesses, there is so much, and you're the ones who are actually performing all of your own services. There's so many levels of your business, but I think social media can be so important, and just content planning in general. Again, some of my clients, what I build for them is an annual calendar, and every month we break down exactly what we're going to do, and we say, okay, this week we're promoting this service, and on Monday we're going to post on LinkedIn, on Tuesday we're going to do it on Instagram, on Wednesday we're doing this. We have a newsletter that's going out on Thursdays, and so it's building a calendar that makes sense. There's a lot you can actually go online, and there's a lot of services things you can download for free. So honestly, Google social media calendar or Google content calendar, and there's downloadable Excel documents you can do. There's services that you can do that manages everything online in the cloud. There are services, like I mentioned, something like a Hootsuite, which is a social media scheduling software, and there's a cost to that, so it just kind of depends on what you want to do. Again, I think this delves way more into marketing, but you also, if you have a newsletter for your business or for yourself, you can manage that, and you can actually manage all of your audience in one spot with something like a Constant Contact, which is a place where you can build newsletters, and you can send newsletters out and actually track them, see who opened the files. You can send follow-up emails to people who open the files. There's so many great things that technology has allowed to make marketing, digital marketing, social media marketing, and content marketing much easier for you. So, it can be really overwhelming, but I can't emphasize enough, spending the time to figure it out for your business is so important, because once you've built it and once you have everything in place, a lot of that stuff is automated and it can get off of your plate, which allows you to focus more on your business.
Wow, you've got all these questions that are just coming in. So another person is asking, is it worth paying a firm as a small and upcoming business, or it isn't necessary, is what they said a few minutes ago?
I think it's a question of, your skill level and comfort with that, your time and your budget. So, I think if you have the budget for it, I think it's valuable, because it can take a lot of time to do it, and working with a firm that knows how to do it, that can do it quickly, who can manage it efficiently, I believe it's worth it, because you really, the payoff you can see through bookings, through retail sales, through all of that, through email marketing, through social media, all of those things, I do think it will pay off, but it can get expensive, and it can be a little bit, so it just depends. But if you feel comfortable doing it yourself, and you feel strong in your ability to kind of build that into as a part of your business, it certainly can be done. And there are tools that allow you to do it yourself, if that's something you wanted to do.
Another person commented, like I said, they're just rolling in, Julie. I can't let you go. There's all these questions here. Well, first, somebody commented about Canva is a great content planner with a subscription, and you can upload content several months in advance, just some info in case someone needed the help. That was what one person commented.
Canva is great. And yeah, and it makes, and they really have some beautiful templates and things. So Canva is a great tool that you can do, and there's some free versions of it, and then there's some other versions that are not that expensive that are really helpful.
And then the other person asked about, so what should I look for in a firm? How can I find a reputable one without getting scammed? Oh, great question.
I think one, getting their client list and doing some research on your own, because most of the marketing firms will have a pretty solid kit about themselves that talks about what they can do. Ask them for results, ask them for proof, look at their client list, see if their clients are aligned with what you're doing. And I'm not saying they have to do the same thing, but if they are a firm that specializes in beauty, or they're a firm that specializes in multicultural beauty, that's probably, that's good. And then actually ask for references, speak to somebody that they've worked with before. I think that's also really important too. It takes some like anything, it takes some homework and research on your end, but it's way, way, way worth doing. And I know that a lot of people sometimes will be like, I'm going to hire an intern, or I'm going to bring in a college student who's just good at social media and do it for me. And that is certainly an option if you have somebody great. There are some really talented kids that are coming out of school right now and that can help you with that. But that can just be a Band-Aid because, one, it's not necessarily long-term. Two, they may not really know your business super well. So, if you're going to invest in it, I would suggest investing in a firm that does it versus trying to just kind of make it work with somebody who can kind of help you with it would be my suggestion.
Great. And I want to make sure, because Katina, did you have any comments or questions? I want to make sure I come back to you as we're getting ready to wrap up. I mean, the questions are just flooding in. I mean, you should see the comments, and people are concerned about marketing. It's an important part of business. Any final thoughts, Katina, that you wanted to wrap up with, or points?
No questions or thoughts from me. I actually was just taking notes as much as I could. I know this will replay later, but I still wanted to take as many notes as I could. And I definitely learned something, the importance of marketing, and possibly, if you can, within your budget, and if you can hire a PR a marketing team, then that's something that you definitely should invest in. So I really thank you. I appreciate the tips and advice. It's really helping me.
Sure. Well, anybody reach out anytime. Happy to share.
And I think
Yes,
my
ma'am.
final question to you, Julie, would have to be to somebody that's just brand new. They're just trying to get this off the ground. What is the basic thing that they can do? What's just one or two things that they can start off doing just to get in the game of marketing and to get used to it?
Gosh, it's so hard because there's so many great things you can do. I think it really is just, I can't emphasize enough being organized and having a plan, and if that plan starts small, yeah, it would be great if you could build a plan to do 70 social media posts, reach out to a journalist 3 times a week, do it, but just start small and you'll get there, Get your website in order, get it where you want it to be. Make sure that your website has all the information that makes it easy for your clients, first of all, but also for any media that wants to talk to you. So get that in order. Make sure that's really easy. Get some assets in order so that if anybody asks you, you have it. So, have some photographs of yourself, of your team, of your space. Have your spa menu in this folder. Have anything, just get organized, have some basic information, and then start from there. And then you can kind of grow it as you choose and say, okay, I'm going to set up my social media accounts. This week, I'm going to start with 1 post a week, and then I'm going to build up to doing 2 posts a week. And, so just start slow and build rather than try to do everything at once, because then you'll just get overwhelmed. And when I get overwhelmed, I don't do it. So it's always better to start small and grow into it.
You're right about the overwhelmed. Even I get overwhelmed, right? So I thank you for these valuable tips. And, people were listening. They were honing in. Whatever they missed, they know they're going to go back and watch it. I know, like Katina, Tiffany, they're going to go back and watch it, and all those great tips. And so I thank you, because I really think this is so a big, to me, it's an important component when it comes to small businesses and businesses in general, because you really can't operate if people don't know where to find you and where you're at. That's the bottom line. Mm-hmm. So start doing something, right? I think that's the message. Do something. Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yes. So we thank you for your time, just hanging out with us this morning, getting us revved up. Again, another phenomenal presentation. Taking care of business, because it's about business, and making sure that we got our ducks in a row. And so we appreciate you giving us that. This is like some high protein knowledge, I call it. Breakfast food.
Thank you. Happy to share.
Thank you so much. And so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, those of you who've been watching, because we do have gentlemen watching, and we will be back in about an hour or so. And so if you missed Miss Julie's presentation, it's okay. You can go back and watch it. We also will have that on all of our other programming throughout spashow.com and AMPTV. So you really didn't miss anything except for the VIP treatment. We apologize for that. But anyways, Julie, thank you so much. Thank you for being so patient. And we hope that you please come back. Please. We need you.
Absolutely.
And then we will be there. We'll be one of the representatives, by the way, at your conference. So I'm so excited to see what that's all about. One of our partners will be there, and she represents us. So I'm so excited to see what that's all about.
Perfect. Thank you so
Yes.
much. All right.
Thank you. Thank you. And as we said, we will be coming back in about an hour or so you can get a bite to eat, get something to snack on, relax, do all the things that you would do whenever you would have a break. Julie Keller Callahan signing off just for now.